Hey Great Skate family, welcome to Church Online today. It's great to have you guys tuning in. I hope you've had an awesome week wherever you're joining us from. My name's Zalia and this is Wesley.
Yes, and it's such a privilege that we can still do church online. It isn't what we prefer. We prefer face-to-face connection and being a community that is actually seeing each other. But hey, beggars can't be choosers at this stage, and we're so grateful that we can still be a part and be a community online. So thanks for joining us this morning. This past week, we've still had awesome things happen in all our different environments. Zols, we've had some cool kids programs. We've had our youth group joining in all on Zoom. So what else has been happening this past week?
Yeah, we've also had life groups, which has been really cool. And for Grace Kids, it's been awesome. We've actually had 2 new staff members join us. So we have Claire and Hannah, and I hope you guys get to meet them in person soon. But otherwise, say hi to them online. They're going to be helping us out in the babies room and in our 2 to 4-year-olds room. So that's really exciting as well.
Yeah. And just this week also, I've heard that we've had some more guys join our supported living programs and move into the house. So all of you guys who are watching today, we want to give you a big shout out, and we can't wait to actually see you guys face to face, and so that you can feel more part of our Gracegate community. So during the past couple of weeks and since the beginning of August, we've been journeying through this series called The Middle. We've been navigating some questions of how do we move past our middle, where's God in our middle, and I think it's been one of the most encouraging and spiritual growth series that we've had at Gracegate. It's been a really difficult season for myself, but also I found so much value during this time and leaning into God. How about you, Zols? What has really stuck out for you during this series of The Middle?
Yeah, I've also loved it. I love the fact that it's just raw and it's dealing with something that we all go through. Whether you're currently in a middle season or you've been through one, it's something that we can all relate to. But I really enjoyed the piece that said, like, the way you deal with the middle shows what's in the middle of you. And that's been a big thing for me, making sure that I have God at the center, because that's what's going to get me through those tough times. So it's been really cool.
Awesome. And so today we've honored to actually have Jordan share with us the last middle message. And so I want to encourage you guys to get your notes out, get your pen and paper, take some notes down. Also, I just wanted to encourage you and let you know that we've been praying for all your middles. You've been naming them. And know that we as a church and a community have been praying for them. But today I know George is going to share with us something that's really going to help us move forward with God's grace. So let's sit back, relax, stay tuned, and thanks, Jordan.
Hey guys, welcome to our final week of the Middle series. Over the past 3 weeks, we have been going through how to thrive during our middle seasons. We had Walter and Wes share some amazing messages focusing on how we can thrive, how we can move forward, how we can deal with our middle seasons. And it's not always easy and it's not always fun, but it's something that we all go through constantly. But I don't know about you, all right? I love action movies. I love action movies. I love movies with tension. I love movies with a time limit. I love movies where the bad guys are winning heaps and it looks like the good guys are going to be losing, and then right at the last minute they come through and they win. I love those movies. So I love movies like James Bond, and I love movies like Mission Impossible. And a couple of weeks ago, I actually watched the latest Mission Impossible movie called Mission Impossible Fallout. And I thought it was fantastic. And the reason I thought it was fantastic was there was this one moment. There was this one moment where the good guys came so close to winning. They came so close. They had caught the bad guy. They had got the nuclear device, and all was well. And they were going to win. And then right at the last minute, the bad guys swoop in, and they ruin the plans. And then the bad guys are winning. And there's this moment where the good guys are just devastated. They're hurting. They're lost. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to feel. They're kind of want to give up. And then there's this moment in the movie where Ethan Hunt, the main character, he kind of looks at these guys, to his team, and he goes, hey, look, I know we came so close to winning. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. But I know we came so close to winning. I know that we were so close to the end. But you know what? Now that we're not, I'm going to keep going. And even if we win, even if we lose, I am going to try. I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going forward. And I think that moment is so cool. And I think these guys were in a middle season at that moment in time. They were at the lowest point. They were at the most difficult point. But then they did something that changed how they approached it. And that's something that I want to explore with you guys. Because the reality is our middle seasons, they're terrible moments sometimes. They're incredibly difficult. We don't want to be there. We don't want to go through them. We would rather be anywhere else than in that moment in time having to go through that difficult time. And in those middle seasons, what usually ends up happening, or what often ends up happening, is that our feelings, our negative emotions, our negative attitudes start to communicate to us a lie. And that lie is the fact that the middle season that we are in right now is going to be our permanent home. It's going to be our permanent home. So then we start believing that, hey, I will never actually get out of this addiction. Hey, I will never actually move out of this shame that I'm feeling. Hey, I believe that I will never get better. I believe that I will never find relationship with someone because I've been single for so long. And so these feelings in our middle season, these negative attitudes, these things that speak to us in our heads, start to convince us and make us believe that our middle season is a permanent home and not a temporary place. For some of us, this is our current reality. For some of us, this is what we are struggling with every single day. For some of us, this is something that we've been struggling with for months, maybe years. For some of us, maybe we've actually come out of a middle season. And for some of us, we might be entering a middle season. But this is something that happens often, if not all the time, where our feelings and our emotions and our negative attitudes convince us that our middle season is a permanent home, not a temporary place. But what if there was something that we could do that changes that? What if there was something that we could do that actually changes this mindset that we suddenly start to take on during our middle seasons? And what if that thing that we do is actually setting a deadline? What do I mean by this, by setting a deadline? Well, what if, throughout this entire middle season, you've been praying to God to take away this thorn from your side, kind of like what Wes was speaking about last week. What if, these negative feelings and these emotions are just taking over and is convincing you so hard that you believe that where you are in that middle season is going to be where you're going to be for the rest of your life? What if in that moment we set that deadline? And what if we set that deadline in the terms of when we reach that deadline day, when we say, June 26th is when I'm setting this deadline, we change our perspective. On deadline day, we say, hey, look, whatever I am feeling, I'm going to actually surrender to God. I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going. That's what I mean by setting a deadline day. Because deadline days, they sound scary. I think when we think about deadlines, we don't have fond memories of what they are. For me, it gives me serious major flashbacks to last year when I was figuring out and ending my studies at Laidlaw, where I ended up having 3 of the biggest assignments in my life, all due on the same week, by the way, and all that I left to the last minute to start. In that moment in time, I hated the deadlines that were set for me. I disliked them. I didn't want anything to do with them. If anything, I would kind of finish it in my own time, which meant that I probably wouldn't finish it anyway. But what if we were able to move past this discomfort? What if we were able to see deadlines as something that is actually, that can be something powerful, a tool that we can use in our middle seasons when everything around us is trying to convince us that this is where we're going to be for the rest of our life? What if we could actually put a deadline on that and say, hey, those feelings, they're not bad. Those feelings, actually, we shouldn't ignore them, but they shouldn't be leading us. And so when deadline day comes, I'm going to get up, I'm going to surrender, and I'm going to keep moving forward in my middle season. Because, church fam, this is the truth. Your middle is not the end of the road. There is still more to come. There is a moment in the story of the Bible. There are many moments. But this particular moment is a moment in Jesus' story. And so this is found in the book of Matthew, which is the first book in the New Testament. And basically, Matthew was a disciple that followed Jesus around and wrote down his story, wrote down his teachings, wrote down his life as he lived it. And he was teaching around that time. But this story takes place near the end, actually, of Jesus' story. It's when Jesus has finished having the Last Supper with his disciples, and they've traveled to a place called Gethsemane. And so this moment in this story really highlights this deadline setting. And this is something that Jesus has done for a middle season that he went through that would probably be incredibly difficult. So we're picking up from Matthew 26:36, and this is what it says. It says, "Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to them, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.' He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, 'My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me.' Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, 'My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will.'" I think this is really powerful. I think that this moment in Jesus' story is incredibly powerful and links up so nicely to how we sometimes, if not often, travel through our middle season. Because I think for most of us, when there's always a point where we come to in our middle season where if we lose hope, where there is none, where we're falling on the floor face down, where our hearts are full of sorrow and full of pain and they're hurting almost to the point of death. And for some of us, we turn to God and we don't have the strength to stand anymore. We don't even have the strength to sit. We're kind of laying face down on the ground, praying to him, "Lord, please take this cup away from me. Please take this middle season away from me, because it's too difficult for me to handle." And in this story, we see Jesus doing the very same thing, because later on in the story, he would go and he would die on the cross for us. And that was the most difficult thing. But here we have Jesus struggling how some of us struggle through our middle season. And I think this is incredibly encouraging, because what Jesus does in that moment is he sets a deadline. In fact, the story, the verse or the story continues. Jesus didn't set a deadline right after that when he prayed and he finished. He actually did it 3 times. He went back and found his disciples sleeping and told them to get up and pray and help. And he went back and prayed to God again. Then he came back and saw the same thing and went back. He did this 3 times. He fought and he cried and he was struggling and his heart was heavy. But then at the end of that 3rd time, that was deadline day for him. Because what he did was he got up and he went through with what had to be done. The thing is, he went a step further. He went a step further than most of us do sometimes. What he did was, actually, right at the end, when we look at it, right at the end, he says, "Yet not as I will, but as you will." It's this moment of surrendering. He's saying, hey, God, Lord, I can't. If I had it my way, I really wouldn't want to do it. I really wouldn't want to go through this middle season. But it's not. If my way is not the way, then I am surrendering that. And I am going to do it your way. Despite the difficulty that might come ahead, despite everything that might happen, I trust you. And so I'm surrendering to what you have planned for me. I'm surrendering to your process. So I'm going to get up. I'm going to look forward. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I think we can take some serious encouragement from this. I think we can look at this moment in time and go, wow, if Jesus can do that, I can too. It's difficult. It's not easy. I want us to understand that. And I love what Wes shared last week, because it wasn't the most happiest of endings, because sometimes God says, no, I want this to be a thorn. So sometimes it's going to be really difficult. But we can actually move forward. We can get up and we can keep going. And sometimes that means setting a deadline for the feelings that we're going through. Because this is not the first time that this happens in the story of the Bible, in the story of our faith. There are moments with David. There's moments even with Paul from last week, where they pray to God and their hearts are full of hurt and are struggling. And it feels like everything is against them. And it feels like that middle season is going to be their permanent home. But then they set this deadline day where they say, hey, God, not my will, but your will. If this is what you want me to go through, if this is the process that you are taking me through, then okay, I will get up, I will look forward, and I will keep going. And they set a deadline on the feelings that they were having on that moment in time. I think this is important. And I think this is something that we need to do. And to be honest, I actually think this is something that we do without even thinking about it. At times, not all the time. Because I can remember a moment, actually, it was the same weekend a year ago, right? It was this weekend that my family and I went through something incredibly difficult. I think actually it's tomorrow on Sunday. My brother Josh, he actually ended up going to hospital. He had a few things happen to him during the year where he got a concussion. And he kind of spiraled from there. And so it ended up being that he actually tried to take his own life. And it was an incredibly difficult moment for me and my family. He's good now, by the way, just letting you know. But it was an incredibly difficult moment for myself and my family during that time. Because for my dad, he was in Bangladesh at the moment working. And so he couldn't come home as quickly as possible, and even though he wanted to. For my mom, it was really difficult for her to see. I mean, it was her baby boy, right? And for Nathan and myself, it was difficult to see our youngest brother struggle and fight against something and come to a point where he didn't want to anymore. It was an incredibly difficult moment for my family and for myself. And that was a hard middle season. And I remember sitting in the hospital room one day while Josh was sleeping. And I remember having an internal struggle with God. I remember fighting him, and I remember wrestling with him, and I remember struggling with him, and I remember me praying, why is this happening to me and my family? Why is this something that I am going through right now? Why is this something that we have to go through right now? Why can't everything be better? But then there came this moment in that conversation where it clicked. And I didn't know it at the time, but I set a deadline on my feelings at that moment in time. Because what I then thought was, all right, Lord, if this is the way it has to be, then okay. All right. What do you need me to do? What do you need me to do moving forward? Because I don't know what to do. You need to tell me, and you need to guide me. And it was in that moment, looking back now, that I realized that I set a deadline for my feelings. I didn't allow them to communicate to me and convince me that that moment was going to be my permanent home. And while the journey has been really difficult, moving out of that, definitely in a better place now. It's hard, but it's possible. Gracegate fam, I want you to know that your middle season isn't your permanent home. All right? There is more to life. There is life after that. And I really believe that setting a deadline can help us move through our middle season. Can move us from this place of believing that this is all that there is to life to realizing that there is more to life. Right? And so I have a few, well, actually, before I even go into that, I want us to actually know and actually believe that deadlines aren't an enemy of ours. Deadlines are actually a tool that we can use. And if we can use it wisely, we can actually move through our middle season despite the feelings that we have. We can continue to live, and we can believe that there is more to life than just that moment. All right? And so now I want to go into some challenges for us that hopefully are practical enough that we can apply it to our own life, and that we can move forward and we can say, hey, I'm doing this in my middle season. And so what I've done is I've actually broken it down into two bits, all right? One that is for people that are going through a middle season right now, or maybe entering a middle season in their current season. And the second section is for those that are actually kind of out of the middle season. They're coasting through life. It's pretty good. All right. So I'll start with those that are in the middle season or who are going into a middle season potentially. The first thing that I would really encourage us to do is set a deadline. Take out those calendars. Write that post-it note and stick it somewhere where you can see it every single day. But set a deadline for the feelings that you are having right now. Because even though those feelings aren't bad, those feelings are terrible leaders. Judah Smith actually said it really, really well, where he was talking about these emotions. He was saying, his quote is, emotions make great companions, but they make terrible leaders. And I would encourage us to remember that our feelings are important. We shouldn't disregard them. We shouldn't push them aside, and we shouldn't say they're not important. They are so important. But they make great companions. They don't make great leaders. Who makes a great leader? Well, one that has actually gone through a middle season himself. One that has gone through a middle season and come out the other side victorious. Because with Jesus' story, after that moment, after that middle season, after he set the deadline, got up and kept moving, he went through torture, he went through getting whipped, through getting nailed to a cross, to dying, and then raising from the dead, coming back again and being victorious. And I think that is our story with that. When we're going through that middle season, it feels like death, it feels difficult. But actually, there is life. There is life ahead of that. So that's the first thing. Set a deadline. Write it in those calendars. Make sure that when you come to deadline day, you're not extending it. You're saying, hey, I'm surrendering and I'm moving forward. And that brings me to my second challenge. I would love for us to surrender. To surrender, get up, and keep moving forward. And so what does that surrender look like? Again, surrender is such a scary word because it feels like we're losing, we're quitting, we're giving up. But we're not. Because what we're doing is we're surrendering to someone that loves us so undeniably that he decided to die for us so that we may have life. We are surrendering to someone that is taking us through a process that is refining us and making us better. He's giving us more life. And so we're not surrendering to something that is going to control us. We're not surrendering to something that is going to take life away from us. We are surrendering to a God that loves us and that wants us to live and have life to the fullest. So surrender. When deadline day comes, when it's the 26th of September, I don't know, get up, surrender, and keep moving forward. And then the last thing that I want us to encourage, us with, is to ask us this question of who are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are we listening to, basically? Because in the story of Jesus, we see that Jesus takes his disciples and takes them, 3 of them, and asks them to pray. And he goes off and he prays. And then by the time he comes back, he realizes that these guys are actually sleeping. That's part of the story. And so he wakes them up and he tells them, hey, can you please pray for me? Be with me. Who are you listening to? Who are your friends? Because you don't want people that are just going to help you get comfortable in your middle season. You don't want people that are comfortable in their middle seasons. You want people that are going to come alongside you, who are going to challenge you, who are going to show you that God is moving and working in and through you, and remind you that your middle season is not a permanent home, that it is a temporary place, that there is life still ahead of you. Who are the people that you are listening to? Who are the people that are around you? Because that is important. The last thing, and this is for those that are out of a middle season. Don't run away. Don't ignore those that are going through middle season. Do not cast them aside. Do not look at them and go, that's way too difficult for me to get involved with. Do not get involved. Get involved. Come alongside those that are going through a current middle season. Because the words that you may speak into them might be the words that God uses to work in and through them, to move them out of that middle season, to move them from this perspective of this is my permanent home, not a temporary place. So do not give up on people. Walk alongside them, come alongside them, lead alongside them, and walk and do life alongside them. That is the best thing that we can do. That is the best thing that you can do if you're out of a current middle season and you see those. Charlotte Gamble actually says this in such a beautiful way. For those of us that are out of a middle season, we need to actually be standing on the shores, in the wind and in the rain and in this crazy mess that people are going through. And we need to yell at the top of our lungs, hey, there is land nearby. We need to tell them to keep rowing. We need to remind them that God is good and that God is for them and is using them and loves them. So stand on the shore, shout that there is land nearby, encourage them to go, to keep rowing, and remind them that God is with them. Gracegate fam, I can't stress this enough. Our middle seasons aren't permanent homes. They're a temporary place. God has so much life ahead of us in this moment in time, in your middle season. Keep going. Set those deadlines. Surround yourself with people that feed into you. Come alongside those that are struggling and surrender and keep going. Dear God, thank you so much that we can come together and we can meet still. But thank you that you are with us through our middle seasons. Thank you that you have never left us, that you are always beside us, Lord. Thank you for the advice that has been shared over the past 3 weeks. Thank you for all that you have given us. Lord, please help us to remember that our middle seasons aren't permanent homes. They're a temporary place. Thank you for who you are and the God that loves us so much that he went through middle season himself and came out on the other side. Please be with us and please bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working. are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning life around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
Today, as we have ended our middle series, I hope you are feeling encouraged. I hope you're going to take the great challenge that George has set for us, and that we're going to actually write down our deadline for our feelings and for our emotions, and we're just going to surrender, and we're going to say, hey God, help us out. We want to trust in you. We know that you're a God who is for us, who cares about us. And I want to encourage you, if you've listened to this series, if you're still struggling with something in your life, and you just want to reach out and say, hey, I need some help, we want you to know that we're a church who is for people who want to journey alongside you. And so please be in touch with us. You can contact us via Facebook on our Gracegate page, or you can contact us through our website. Just go to gracegate.org.nz, and we have a whole team who's out there who is willing to be with you and help you, especially during this time. where it's a really difficult season, that we're navigating so many feelings, so many different emotions, and we want you to know that we are a community that cares for you. So, Zoz, we got some exciting things coming up.
Yep, that's right. So one of those is that next week we are starting our brand new series. So it's actually called Influencer, and there's so many things in our lives that influence us, good and bad. And so we want to journey through that together, and we want to see how we can make sure that not only are we being the best influence we can to others, but that we're getting influenced by the right kind of things. So join us next Saturday for Church Online. It's going to be awesome.
Also, we'd love you guys to join us for some Zoom conversations. All the details are on our chat right now, so come and join us. We want to have some more conversations about this middle and what Jordan shared today, so come and join us. It will be great to see your face and to have some conversations. Other than that, we've got some really exciting news to share with you guys, and that is we'd love you to save the date, February 2021. Something awesome is happening, and that is that we are extending our family.
That's right, we have a baby Lawrence on the way, and we are super excited. It's a huge blessing, a huge gift, and we can't wait to share it with you guys.
So please continue to pray for us, and yeah, we can't wait to introduce our little bun to the world. So yeah, excited. Stay tuned. We'll meet you on Zoom. Thanks so much.
Bye.